Story 1. I went out on a date with a girl, and at the end of the night, she suggested fast food. We went through the drive-thru, and when we pulled up to the window, the worker looked at her and then at me, and his whole expression changed. He suddenly looked sad and defeated. As he took the money and handed us the food, she started running her hands all over me. Before we pulled away, she gave him a huge smile. Turns out the guy at the window was her ex, and she knew he was working that night. I never went out with her again. Story 2. Expecting me to put in all the effort. Dating is a two-way street, and if you give me no effort, I'm moving on. Story 3. Arriving 30 to 45 minutes late without informing me. Not making an effort to sustain the conversation. Using your phone the entire time. Story 4. Playing hard to get. I won't talk to you after that, and if you come back and act flirty, I will think you are playing with me and I will be gone. Story 5. Asking questions such as, what is your blood type? And on a scale of 1 to 10, how healthy would you rate your kidneys? Story 6. Here's something people haven't explicitly mentioned. Criticizing men. Whether it's denigrating the gender or all the men in your life, imagine going on a date with a man who only talks about how terrible women are and how poorly the women in his life have treated him. You would likely conclude that he is the problem. Story 7. Being an hour late or not showing up can be frustrating. I was stood up once. The next day, she texted me and blamed me for her absence. I lost her contact information. Story 8. I know it's a classic, but if she starts talking about one or more ex-partners on the first date, it's a sign she will probably be a nightmare. Similarly, if she talks about problematic family members or shares stories about difficult situations, I'm out. I've learned that it's fair and wise to judge people by the company they keep. I am also turned off by people who force me to lead the conversation and barely give any response unless I guess the right question to ask. I dislike having to lead the conversation in the first place. On the other hand, some people act as if they are interviewing you for a job. It feels impersonal and unattractive to me. I prefer to form a connection on a date. Once I like someone, I enjoy learning everything about them at a comfortable pace. Story 9. We had done a few outings that felt more like dates since I paid the bill. We planned a day exploring various sites and started with breakfast at IHOP. She ordered a full breakfast with eggs, pancakes, and hash browns. She took 3 or 4 bites while we talked. Then she said she was done and didn't want a takeout box. There were hundreds of homeless individuals within walking distance who did not and would not eat that day. She works with homeless people in a nonprofit organization. I was so frustrated I knew that was the last free meal she would be getting from me. Story 10. I've noticed some people mention their exes, but they rarely talk about the other dates they are going on or have been on. A girl on a second date once told me that she went out with a guy from her gym between our dates, but even though he was so tall, I spent the whole time thinking he wasn't you. I promise it's not the compliment you may think it is. I don't mind if you go on a first date with someone else while we're figuring out if we like each other, but I don't want to hear about it. Story 11. Bringing up future wedding plans and the names of our future children before the appetizers have even arrived is premature. It's one thing to be forward-thinking, but mapping out our entire future together while we're still deciding on drinks feels overwhelming. It suggests you're more in love with the idea of a relationship than with getting to know the actual person across from you. Additionally, it's a lot of pressure before I've even figured out if we connect on the basics. Story 12. Any extreme stance on a topic that triggers individuals to the point where they are unable to engage in a rational discussion. Story 13. When she starts probing into the reasons for my divorce, she is delving into areas I only share with my closest friends. Is she one of those friends? I don't think so. Is she respecting my boundaries? Obviously not. Story 14. Lying too much and excessive mind games lead to a lack of trust, which causes issues in a relationship. Playing hard to get rarely works and makes you look foolish for chasing after someone. Story 15. They claim to be feminists and feel oppressed, yet they earn a decent wage. Then they tell me how she wears the pants in the relationship and, coincidentally, withholds affection, becomes abusive, and then leaves to engage in promiscuous behavior. If she is a sociopathic narcissist who doesn't care about anyone but herself, yet everyone somehow seems to like her, it creates an unfortunate situation. When things go wrong, no one cares about you. Story 16. They only talked about themselves the entire time. This happened to me last night. Additionally, she didn't have recent pictures of herself, which is always disappointing. Story 17. In addition to what others said, a woman who tries to act and look perfect can come across as cold or boring. Let your fun side express itself. I don't want to date a statue. Story 18. Focusing too much on social status or the number of followers you have on social media is unappealing. If I ask about your interests and all you discuss is trying to become an influencer or the likes on your last post, I disengage. I want to get to know you, not your curated online persona. It feels shallow, as if you are more invested in your phone screen than in forming a genuine real-life connection. Story 19. As an unattractive guy, here are some examples from first dates I had. Pushing too fast and making me feel like they are trying to get something from me by asking questions about finances and giving me the impression they want a child within the next year or two, or openly stating as much, really annoys me. The first aspect feels gold-digging and objectifying. The second is just generally annoying and makes me feel like they don't care about me as a person, but only that I can provide children for them. It's also insulting that we have to follow their timeline. Just because they made certain choices in the past doesn't mean I should be forced into their timeline. Spending too much time on their phone is also a red flag. I understand checking it once or twice, but anything beyond that makes me feel unimportant. If they are more interested in their phone than me, I choose to leave. It indicates they either don't care, are just in it for a free meal, or it will become a significant problem during a relationship. Putting little to no effort into the conversation makes me suspect she is one of the women who admit to going on dates just for free food. Discussing new age topics like astrology can be off-putting as well. I've also encountered a surprising number of women within the first hour of talking, whether as friends or on a date, bringing up topics like abuse or trauma. While I understand that I am easy to talk to and people like to share their stories, I believe it's better to wait at least an hour before discussing something so serious. For instance, "Oh, sorry if I flinch. My ex used to hit me." Or, "So sex might not be on the table for a while. My dad used to molest me." It's the first date. I wasn't even considering sex, nor was I going to push for it. And it's surprising who brings that up 45 minutes into a date. Casually mentioning drug use beyond cannabis is also a concern. Story 20. Making jokes and theorizing about what our future children might look like is a big mistake I have experienced on multiple first dates. Even if I believe you are joking, it creates a major negative vibe shift, and the date is unlikely to recover. Story 21. Personally, it has to be when they start talking about their sexual adventures. If there is one thing that genuinely turns me off, it is a promiscuous woman. I am not a promiscuous man, and I find that unattractive. By this, I mean when they sit there and talk about how, "Oh, last weekend this guy I hooked up with did this," and then continue to talk about multiple sexual partners they have had in a very short amount of time. In my head, I think, I am going to be a gentleman and see this date through and treat her like a friend. But then peace. Story 22. When I can tell someone is not interested, I have to keep the conversation going. My back has been sore from carrying the conversation. Bringing up exes is not a suitable subject at all. Trauma dumping is again not the time or place to discuss personal problems, which makes the date very awkward. There is no personality or ambition. Personally, I am not a fan of someone who is fun and social on social media but lacks personality on a date. Story 23. When she starts to point out and name all the attachments, makeup, enhancements, nails, etc., that she likes to put on in order to feel pretty with herself, she ends up saying, "I'm a low-maintenance girl." After going through a couple of dozen, with a little luck, it's time to ask for the check. It's early enough to walk and watch the sunset while meditating on the purpose of life. Story 24. Assuming the man will pay for everything without offering to contribute, unless it was previously discussed or agreed upon. Story 25. Talking about an ex is a clear red flag. I learned that the hard way. Each time someone mentions their ex, I already know what to expect. Story 26. start talking about their exes and how they were the problem, not themselves. I don't bring up the past unless asked, and I am very quick about it so I don't bring it into the present. Story 27. Talk about her ex unnecessarily. Ignore us. Share personal trauma. Imagine if someone did something to you. Would you be put off? That's likely true. Story 28. If I'm paying excessively, also be on her phone. Use me as a therapist. Talk about her ex. And if it's at a Japanese place, mix wasabi and soy sauce while treating the staff poorly. Story 29. Rushing through the date, trying to change things last minute, continuously looking at the time, and not being able to carry a conversation. I have been on a date like that, and it was a waste of time for both of us. Story 30. Getting political and spiritual. Nothing makes walking out easier than saying, "I'm so glad you're a Virgo. I've never met a Virgo who is a misogynist." Story 31. Excessive use of credit is concerning. Ordering the most expensive items on the menu is unwise. Scolding someone for an innocent action and trying to dominate him or the conversation are reasons I have never gone on another date. Story 32. I have had so much misfortune dealing with women that I downright don't even want to be there unless I have a bit of money that I have no use for. Feels like a chore. Story 33. I am surprised by the behavior of some girls. I make an effort to engage in conversation and leave my phone in my bag. I do not flirt if I am not interested in them romantically. Regardless of whether I want to see them again, I politely express my feelings. I ask questions because I genuinely want to get to know them. I am unsure what else to do. Story 34. The hypocrisy and double standards of the dating culture are evident. In modern times, who taught women how a man should be? It is important to act open-minded instead of merely stating it. Story 35. Playing hard to get. If you act uninterested, I take that at face value. I will not waste my time with women who do not seem interested, and I will not degrade myself by putting an effort to prove how interested I am when I do not even really know her. Story 36. Clear catfishing, especially pre-meeting images being noticeably younger or slimmer. Severe lack of attention to hygiene and obesity. I don't mind larger women, but morbidly obese indicates a significant lack of self-respect. I also don't mind women with body hair, but when you smell unpleasant, something is definitely wrong. Playing hard to get. 54. I don't have time for that and will take things at face value. Clear disinterest or being on the phone, usually indicative of a food-related call. Lack of respect, often shown by being late without notice, being combative, excessively assertive, personally invasive, or openly dismissive of me or my attributes. Expecting me to put in all the effort while contributing none herself. No opinions or desires. Extreme passivity is exhausting. Conversely, talking about herself most of the time. If there is no interest in me, why am I there? Inordinate interest in career, salary, or wealth, including suggesting to go to particularly expensive or trendy places. Unambiguous mistreatment of others, especially waitstaff, along with direct misandry and gender bias. Any complaints about previous partners, putting them down, or otherwise showing that they occupy her mind excessively, indicating she is not ready for another relationship. Casual mentions of psychologically or physically disturbing events in her life, especially concerning friends and family. Inability to remain rational on subjects that should be treated logically. Difficulty staying objective with emotional topics. Many women are emotional, but I avoid those who seek out uncontrolled emotional turmoil because they are addicted to it. I don't need that level of psychological distress. Story 37. Not being honest, I guess. If you like me, let me know. If you don't, say it. I'm a mature adult, and I can handle it. I hate this whole idea of ghosting or waiting a certain number of days before texting. We are two adults. It shouldn't be this hard, and there shouldn't be a strict roadmap to dating. Story 38. When individuals display signs of mental instability and lack of education, they may find themselves categorized as less desirable, despite any effort they put into their appearance. Story 39. Do not play games. No means no. I have seen many videos of women saying no to men, and that should be the end of it. Men should learn from the Me Too movement and keep their distance. Story 40. She surprised me when she talked about marriage, kids, and meeting her mom on the first date. The next day, her friend mentioned that he tried to take his life, and since they had a suicide pact, the only reason she didn't was because we were together. I ended things and left. Story 41. One-upmanship in conversation, especially when it involves personal achievements like visiting a place for the first time or professional and financial accomplishments, is generally unkind. It shifts the focus from connecting to competing. Women who engage in this behavior often perceive men who are put off by it as unable to handle a strong woman or as not being on their level. Story 42. Pulling up their phones to play a loud video while we are at dinner is inconsiderate. If they cannot stay off the phone for 2 minutes, I find it intellectually disappointing. They need to replenish their diminished attention span. It embarrasses me that they make noise and are unaware that it might disturb others who are trying to have a conversation. Story 43. Being too upfront about what they want or expect from you without asking on the first date, especially within the first 30 minutes, is a significant red flag in my opinion. Dating is about figuring each other out. Take your time and let it happen naturally. That's the fun part. I don't want to be given an instruction manual on how to be loved. Story 44. Nothing scares me off. I do get bored easily, so she needs to put in a decent amount of effort. Women are not the prize. I am. Thanks a bunch for sticking around till the end of the video. Remember to subscribe, and until next time, stay awesome and goodbye.